Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be working on a linen dress for an end of summer family reunion. We are going to go ahead and dive into our new acquisitions for the pattern. We're going to go ahead and go with the Simplicity, what is it, 3797. Some of you may remember this is the pattern that came with the dress and the hat and the bag and everything. For this particular video, we're going to stick just with the dress because this is going to be a one-day make. You heard that correct. One day, because the reunion is actually tomorrow. For this, I am calling it a one-day make, but I will preface it with I did already pick fabric out of my stash. I've washed it and ironed it, and I did open up the pattern pieces to make sure that they were intact. One of the things that did get in my way this week of making this dress was that I had actually picked out a different pattern from our recent acquisitions. I had picked out different fabric, gotten it prepared, and then it turned out that the pattern I picked out, the pieces were shredded, and if I ever want to make that pattern, I will have to retrace them very, very carefully. And then once I kind of figured that out, I thought I'll just gently lay them out on the material and see if I've got enough material. It seemed like I should have had enough material, but in the end I wasn't going to, because I had been looking at using a plaid and I knew that the patterns weren't going to line up. So this project actually took a little bit of a turn and we had to start all over. After that, I did go ahead and find in my stash a linen that I had forgotten about. I picked it up at Joann's on the 20% off the last markdown price, and I think I got it for like $3 a yard. And no one is going to turn down linen at $3 a yard. It does have a vertical stripe for it, and I wasn't really sure when I purchased it what I was going to use it for, but for this particular pattern, you can see actually one of the dresses is displayed with vertical stripes. So I thought, well, let's give it a try. I think it's going to be great. And one thing I'm very excited about is that linen is really, really comfortable, really breathable, and it should have a lovely drape. This is a very light linen, so it should wear really nicely. And so without further ado, so that we can hopefully get this project done in one nap time and one after bedtime, let's dive right in and get stitching. Okay guys, I wanted to check in with you quickly here to let you know I'm going to be making a small alteration to the pattern before we keep going. Now, when you are looking at this pattern here, you can see that it really nips in nicely at the waist. It's got like a nice blousey top, and it looks like there is some movement across and around the hips, even though it is technically a straight skirt on this outfit. So it's a little deceptive. Every bit of the fit of this dress is achieved by means of either the waist belt, which is what we'll be doing, or the drawstring waist. That's where this dress is getting its shape. The actual overall design of the dress is straight, like straight, almost like paper bag shorts. So it's like a paper bag dress, which can be really great, especially if you have a nice uniform figure, like where your bust measurement and hip measurement are pretty close. Unfortunately for me, my hips and bottom are quite a bit larger than my top half. And I did a double check on my measurements here and kind of measured the widest part of my hips and bum area, and it will be larger than this pattern, and so I'm going to need to size up the pattern. Now, I am not sure just yet if I'm going to simply try to scale up the pattern entirely, or if I'm going to do a gentle curve, maybe starting here around the armpit area and just gently bring it out almost in an A-line, which would then afford me that little bit of extra difference in the hip area. I think the only unfortunate thing about that, of course, is that that does create more of an A-line effect, or more of a a shirt dress effect because it is getting wider at the bottom. The bottom circumference would be quite a bit bigger. I could overcome that, of course, by doing a gentle slope and adding a hip curve, but then gently bringing things back in toward the bottom, toward the knees, where I'm going to kind of have it cut off. But that, again, is going to kind of change the overall design and shape of the dress. Which, of course, even leaving it, just scaling it up is going to, because it will be quite a bit larger and more baggy on my upper half than it would be on my lower half. So I think I have a little bit of thinking to do. I am going to keep this pinned on here. I am going to make sure I've got everything set up and all of the measurements double and triple checked for this dress, for both the front and the back of it. And know that if I do have to scale anything up, I'm going to have to scale up all of the additional features in that, including things like the lining or the interfacing for the neckbands and so forth. So I'm going to give that a little bit of thought, and then I will meet you guys back here. Hey guys, welcome back. It is after bedtime. During nap time today, I was able to get the pattern pieces cut out and get the sash, started to get the sash assembled for it. I did decide to use a hip curve for this. Instead of making the entire piece larger, I decided, what the heck, I would try to use a tailor's curve, use a hip curve. And so I've added in, so it'd be like, whoop. Hopefully we'll give just enough of a gentle flare to go around the hips and the bottom and make this dress wearable for me without making the top just absolutely huge and falling off the shoulders, which I really think is something that many individuals who may have more of a pear shape will run into. Sometimes sizing up a garment in order to fit like a larger bottom can cause the entire top to be sized up as well. And then all of a sudden you have things falling off of your shoulders, or really wide necklines, or really, really deep cut V's in the front and that sort of thing, which I really don't want. I still want the top to be a fairly, not necessarily fitted piece, but fitted to me piece. I don't want it to be oversized. And so this is what I think we'll give it a try. If this doesn't work, if I make this, because there is a risk when just adding a tailor's curve on the outside of a garment and getting the effect of adding extra volume at that area with using the side as opposed to utilizing darts and pleats and tucks in order to achieve it, is it may not really lay smoothly around the hips, and it could create like bat wings at the hips. So that is definitely a concern of mine. And my thought is, if that happens and it looks absolutely horrendous, I will go back to the drawing board and I will do one of two things. I will either cut that curve out of the sides, stitch it closed, and send it to someone smaller than me, a friend or a family member who might really enjoy this dress. Or I will check and see how this lays around the waistline and possibly just cut it off at the waistline and turn it into a beautiful linen shirt, and then use the bottom pieces to make a purse. I don't know. I'm kind of really hoping that just widening the hips is going to really work, but part of me feels like it just can't work. It can't. Like, that would be too easy. I'm not sure. What I'm going to do to get started tonight, however, is I am going to start with the sash, because this is a piece I don't have to do any alterations to. So I'm going to get the sash done. I'm going to get it pressed and flipped. And then the directions for this particular dress are actually kind of fun. They're really easy. We're going to go ahead and do the neck facing in at the top, and we're going to connect the top shoulder seams, and then literally we're going to like put the front and the back pieces together and sew along the inside and all the way down the hip, and that's it. And then add all of your hems and seam allowances for your hems and cuffs. And that's it. This should be a real beauty to make. And if it works out, I would be excited to potentially try another fabric with this particular pattern. But first we have to see if I can get this darn thing to fit. So let's get straight to the sewing machine because it is bedtime and I don't want to go to bed at midnight before a family reunion. Let's dive in, guys. All right, my dears, checking back in. I have the sash completed and stitched. I have the bust darts put into the front panel of our dress. I have the shoulders put in place, and I have the neck facing put in. I went ahead and did an understitching on that, then rolled it, and then the actual pattern calls for top stitching around the collar, so I did that as well. I had considered, since I had done the understitching, going ahead and whipping it in by hand underneath and attempting to do an invisible stitch, but this particular fabric, this linen, is so light, I thought you would definitely see those stitches through it no matter what. So I thought I would stick with what the original pattern says, which is to go ahead and top stitch the collar. So now that we are here, we get to do the fun part. So this is our dress at the moment. So with the proper side in toward me, I'm going to lay this dress so that it's just like it were laying inside out. All right, we've got right sides together, top is completed, and now this, in my opinion, this is one of the fun parts of doing this style of garment, and this is kind of like a modern, some of our modern day t-shirts or 1940s, 1950s, and into the 1960s, they had a lot of dresses like this that had this T-shape, but they weren't separate sleeves, and so you really just get to start on the outside of the sleeve, go all the way in toward the armpit, and flare back out with one long, beautiful seam that goes all the way to the bottom. One of the reasons that I love this is A, you don't have to inset a seam for your sleeve. You don't have to inset your sleeve. And two, it's just very satisfying. You get to this point and then all of a sudden you do these two long lines of stitching and whoo, you have a garment just there and in front of you like magic. And I love that. So let's get this. I am going to go ahead and pin it. This material is very, very soft and kind of slick as a result. And so I am going to go ahead and pin it all the way down. Do a row of stitching on the regular sewing machine. And then I think I may choose to finish these seams with the serger like I've done on some of the top stitches or top seams. I did also go ahead and hit the sleeves with the serger on the outside. And this will just make it very easy to flip a small rolled hem on those sleeves and prevent myself from really bringing them up too far and kind of maintaining that short sleeve look. Let's get pinning. Guys, I have my two long seams put in and I did go ahead and do a quick test fit on our dress, and I guess I was a little too aggressive when I was adding in. I really kept checking and double checking my measurements, and I think it's because I've actually made a few things recently where they have been a little bit too tight, and I know that some of the clothes that I typically wear right now have been a little bit tight, and so I was very concerned about making sure that this fit well, but it's pretty big, and I don't think I need the full hip flare, so I am going to quickly zip that right back out, and then we should be ready to start getting the hem put on the sleeves, the zipper into the back, and the hem along the bottom, and then this make will be done. I'm not sure how I feel about it on at the moment, maybe because there was a little bit too much going on at the base of it, but you know what, even if it's not fabulous and perfect, and even if I don't wear it tomorrow, it is still a beautiful linen dress that will be comfy to wear around town and wear when I'm playing with the kids. But before I can do any of that, I do need to take this extra hip flare out of the sides because this is just a little bit too bulky and a little too moo-moo for me. All right guys, back seam is in, and we're going to do a quick reminder on one of the ways we can put in a zipper. So today I am putting in an invisible zipper into the back, and what I did when I closed up this back seam was I had previously measured down how far the zipper went, and up until that point I did the largest stitch on my sewing machine, and then below it I did a standard stitch, so that way I can lay this zipper in directly over that seam, stitch it into place without the two pieces of material shifting or rubbing. And then because I've used a large stitch to put the top portion in, I can use a seam ripper to quickly pull those big fat stitches out, and I'll have my zipper put in without any problems. So let's get this lined up. All right, my dears, let's go ahead and break down the latest make. I did finish this dress in the one nap time and one bedtime. I got it done in time to wear to the family reunion, and I did wear it. I was very uncertain that morning whether or not I wanted to. I was uncertain about how I felt in it, if I'm being honest. And eventually I just decided I had made it, and I liked it well enough and I was going to wear it. And I'm really glad that I did, because all of my reservations were put to rest during the family reunion. It was very hot, and the linen was very, very comfortable. It was a very movable, breathable dress. I was never in a position where I was uncomfortable, and I got a lot of compliments on it. So I think overall it was a real success. Things I wasn't really sure I loved about this dress: initially, I did widen the pattern just a little at the center front and center back, gave myself like 1/4 of an inch every way, and that was in addition to putting the additional fabric into the sides, which we inevitably took back out. However, one of the things I had been concerned about was elongating the neck too much by adding through the center of the garment, and unfortunately I do think I did that. So it is still up on my shoulders, but I feel like it would be better just a little bit in from the sides, and I may have done better to open the pattern up in the center of it as opposed to the center fold, maybe in the center of the line. So that is something I will consider doing if I make this garment again. And I have a kind of a funky knit fabric that I'm very much considering making this dress again, because it was very fast, very easy, and I think if it was made out of a knit material, I might not even need to put a zipper in the back, because this is actually quite wide when just slipped over your head. And then of course the belt does really cinch things in nicely at the center, but it gives it a relaxed feel. So you've reclaimed your waist with the belt, but yet it's not form-fitting all the way down. So you're kind of free to have that hot dog at the family reunion and not be horribly worried about whether or not the dress is still going to fit. You can maybe loosen the belt, you still have a waist, but everything else is nice and relaxed, and I enjoyed that. since the reunion, I actually have worn this dress again. I wore it out for a family day, wore it out to run errands, and it is very comfortable. I'm very, very pleased with it. I really love linen fabric. Gosh, I wish it was more affordable just to buy gobs and gobs of it, because it is really comfortable and it irons out beautifully. And I do think there's a lot of forgiveness with linen fabrics. People look at you and they're like, is that linen? Oh, I love linen. Versus, is that linen? Gosh, that's so wrinkly. Because you really do sit down, you move, you get in and out of a car, and this does get very, very wrinkly. But I think there's a lot of forgiveness that comes with linen. And so people just see it and they're like, oh, yep, it's linen. It wrinkles, but it's comfortable as heck. And so you get a lot of leeway with that. I do really like this dress. I'm going to continue to wear it. I'm pleased with how everything turned out. I was so pleased that it was not too small and that I didn't have crazy batwing hip extensions in order to get the dress on. And I think I will try this one again in a knit stretch fabric, like a cotton polyester knit. So if you guys liked this video, if you like vintage patterns and sewing videos, I would love to have you on my journey here on my channel. Please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button down below. Thank you guys so much. Bye.